Greetings, everyone, and a special warm, loving hello to all of my students from the Level 1 Practitioners Certification for Therapy Harps. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through a practice guide of the Level 1 techniques. So if you'd like to have this document nearby to maybe take notes on or just to follow along, please do so now. So I'm going to lower the camera, probably with a few non-sound healing like squeaks of the tripod, and I will see you here at the end. Oh, that wasn't bad at all. All right. So I would like to just go over range one more time. A full range is all of the strings. A full range stroke is when we play all of the strings. Now, there's something special about that, unique to therapy harps, and it's for all of the tunings except for the angelic. The second string here is what we call a conflict string. That means that it's a note that doesn't harmonize with all of the rest. It asks a question rather than finishing a sentence. And so when we do these full range strokes, I recommend stopping just shy of that second string. And we'll bring that second string in later when we're creating more complex melodies. A mid-range stroke is anywhere from half to 3/4 of all the strings. So about that many. Now you can play a mid-range stroke from the bottom of the harp. You can play a mid-range stroke from the top of the harp or to the top of the harp. Or you can play a mid-range stroke, of course, right in the middle. And right now I'm demonstrating everything with upstrokes. In a moment, we'll come into downstrokes as well, but the same rules apply for upstrokes and downstrokes. A short range is 1/4 to 1/3 of all strings. And so short ranges, very short. So that would be a short range from the bottom of the harp. Here's a short range in the middle, another short range in the middle, and another short range upstroke at the top. Okay. And we'll circle back around to dynamics in a little bit. So let's start in the graph where it says strokes and style and up, down, and mix. So a single upstroke, a single full range upstroke is that. Now notice that when I play a single, I'm playing all of the strings at the same volume and an even amount of time between each string. Okay. So just to demonstrate what it would look like if I wasn't doing that, if I was to speed up or sweep up off of the strings at the end, this is what we do not do in a single. Okay. So a single, nice and even and steady. There we go. So, of course, we can play singles with either thumbs, the outside edge. So now I'm going to do a mid-range single upstroke and a mid-range single upstroke near the top. And then a short range upstroke. Notice when I play singles, there's space in between the strokes. They breathe. This this is very often how I start or finish a session, very simply. Now let's move to single downstrokes. And so in single downstrokes, we're using the outer edge, of course, of the ring finger. So that was a full, a single mid-range downstroke, and then a single mid-range downstroke near the bottom, all the way to the bottom. All right, let's do shorts. So short range downstroke. I'm going to jump down to the bottom. All right. So as you develop your skills in the therapy harp, please never overlook singles for the busyness of what's about to come in the next techniques. Singles can be the entire song. They are beautiful. And the space in between allows your clients the space to process within. So let's move to overlays. So an overlay, I'm going to start with an up overlay, and I'm going to work at about a 3/4 or a mid-range stroke. So an overlay is when one stroke begins before the last one ends. So just for a second, I'm playing both hands at the same time. Okay? The strokes overlay each other. Never do I stop playing. Now, what if I took this down to short strokes? Of course, a short stroke is going to be a little faster because it takes less time. And I'm going to jump to the top of the harp. Okay. In a single upstroke, we pedal our bicycle backwards. Okay. Now, in an overlay, in an up overlay, we pedal our bicycle backwards. Didn't mean to confuse you. In an up overlay, we pedal backwards. Now let's move to a down overlay. So we're going to use our ring fingers. And in a down overlay, we're going to pedal our bicycle forwards. So it's the same concept. I'm going to start with a mid-range. And the strokes overlap each other. They overlay at the beginning of one, which is also the end of the previous. So just for a split second, for 2 or 3 strings, I'm playing both hands at once. I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. There we go. All right, down overlay. So let's talk for a moment about walking. Walking is something that you might want to make a note on. It's not on this chart, but you might want to write it down. So walking is when I walk my stroke either up or down. So right now I'm going to do an up overlay, short range, and I'm going to walk up the harp. So I never stop playing. I start with a short stroke at the bottom and I walk the hands up to the top. So it looks like this. So go ahead and try an up overlay, walking up the harp. And now we're going to switch to our ring fingers. We're going to pedal our bicycle forward even as we walk down the harp. Short range strokes, down overlay, walking down the harp. Good. So now we're going to practice walking the other direction. So I'm going to continue doing a down overlay, which means my bicycle is pedaling forward. I'm using the ring fingers. So the stroke is down, but I'm going to start with a small range stroke small range overlay at the bottom of my harp. And I'm going to walk up the harp. Small range overlays, small range down overlays, walking up. And now we're going to switch back to the thumbs, which are pedaling backwards for overlays. And we're going to start at the top of the harp in a small range. So it's a small range, up, overlay, walking down. Once again, small range, up overlays, walking down. Moving now to circles. So in circles, and you can choose which hand you prefer as an upstroke and which one for the downstroke. We are going to use the thumb of one hand and the ring finger of the other. And for circles, rather than either pedaling upwards or pedaling forwards or pedaling backwards, the fingers are going to travel together, side by side. So circles walk together. So I'm going to lay the hands on the finger. Remember, when we play our therapy harps, we always want the finger and the thumb to be as parallel as possible with the strings. We never do the drag, okay? So, or the drag up or the drag down, nice and parallel. So I'm going to start with an upstroke. So here are my fingers, they're here parallel. I'm going to lift up, I'm not putting any pressure on the finger. I'm going to start with the thumb, upstroke. And just like in an overlay, just as this stroke ends, I'm going to press down with my ring finger and lift up the thumb and do the downstroke. Okay. Upstroke with the thumb, downstroke with the finger. And they're traveling sideways, but they're traveling parallel to each other so that we're ready to go when it's time to start the next stroke. But only one is touching at a time. Thumb for the upstroke, finger for the downstroke. Now, this is a basic circle, but if you remember from the level 1 training, we came into that question of, what happens when I play both at the same time? And everybody, you can try that right now. And you see that when we play the same string with two fingers at the same time, they cancel each other out. So to solve that problem, on the upstroke, at the end of the upstroke, the ring finger is going to begin the downstroke one or two strings below where the thumb is playing, so that we can play both strings simultaneously to make it an overlay, right? So that the sounds overlap each other before continuing that stroke. Now, when we get to the bottom, it's the same thing. We're going to begin the upstroke with the thumb on a string that is one or two strings higher than where the finger is, so that they don't cancel each other out. So I'm just going to pick up the speed on it a little bit now. There, and now I'm truly overlaying at both ends, and the circle is complete. Remember, in circles in the therapy harp, we're creating a circle of sound. It does not mean the shape of a circle in the way that our fingers make contact with the harp. So finger, both, thumb, both. Finger, both, thumb, both. Okay. Now that we have mastered circles, let's take it into a walking circle. So I'm going to start at the bottom of the harp in about a short to mid-range, and I'm going to walk my circle up the harp. So thumb, both, finger, both. Slowly every time, taking it a few strings higher. And now I'm going to do the same, traveling down the harp. And of course, I can begin with either an upstroke or a downstroke. This is up to you. So this time I'll begin, just for fun, with a downstroke. So now I'm going to do the same concept of a short range circle walking up, and I'm going to transition seamlessly into a short range circle walking down. So I'd like to move us now into the next style on our chart, and that is syncs. What a sync is when I'm playing with both hands, I'm playing with both hands simultaneously in either an upstroke, a downstroke, or both directions at the same time. And so an example of a sync would be this. And notice that the fingers are far apart on the harp. They can be close, but never can they be on the same string, because then we cancel the vibration of that string. So I'm going to have my fingers about as far apart as what a short stroke would be. And upward sink. And now I'm going to demonstrate a downward sink. So again, the fingers for the downward stroke, and they're far enough apart so that they never touch the same string. And it doesn't matter which finger is above and below. Now, as you can imagine, a mixed sink is going both directions at the same time. And if you remember from the training, we discussed that in a mixed sink, there is just so much going on in the harp that it really is okay to cross over in the center. If you ever want to do a full range mixed sink, it would look like this. So sinks are something that we don't play all the time. We save them for when we want to be a little dramatic. So here is an example of how I'm going to work a sink into overlays. So I'll just start with some basic overlays. I'm doing up overlays, and I'm going to have a little crescendo of a sink right now. I'm going to seamlessly switch to down overlays, and now I'm going to incorporate a sink, followed by another sink. And I'm going to seamlessly transition now to circles. And from my circle, I'm now going to incorporate a mixed sink. And here it comes. And back to a circle. So finally on our chart is steps. Steps is the equivalent of practicing scales on a piano or anything that you practice in repetition for the purpose of gaining strength, dexterity, and understanding, coming to control dynamics like volume and tempo. So in steps, we can do steps up or down. So I'm going to start with up steps. And so in up steps, the goal is to play the harp one string at a time. I'm not plucking up. I'm letting the thumb slip over the string and rest into the next string. So never do I lose contact with the harp for 1 second. And as I do this, the goal is for there to be an equal amount of time between every single string, as if I'm using a metronome, and also for there to be an equal amount of volume with every single string. Now I'm doing this extremely slow, but really the slower we go, the more skills we build. This technique done every day will also help you to build those little invisible calluses that will help you be more masterful with your harp. So, of course, a down sync. I'm sorry, down steps. Pardon me. I'm sure you all caught that. Okay. So please do your steps every day and prior to a performance. So finally now, I would like to look at dynamics of volume and tempo. So volume, of course, is playing louder and softer. So let's just listen to a simple up overlay. I'm going to do a walking up overlay, and I'm just going to play with volume. So that was very, very simple finger techniques, but I simply added the dynamic of volume to create texture in the playing. So now I'm going to add the dynamic of tempo as well. So I'll play basically the same thing I did before, but I'm going to add tempo. So the only technique I'm playing here is up overlays, but you'll find how rich the soundscape is with dynamics. So there you have it. Now you have all of the techniques in level 1, everything that you need to practice and become a masterful first level therapy harp player. Of course, if you're interested in more intricate playing, the techniques go on and on and on. So we do have a level 2 that is based in really mastering the harp, learning all of the advanced techniques and also orchestrating with crystal bowls and other instruments. So thank you so much for bringing your love to the world through sound. I am so honored and thrilled to be here with you. Blessings, everyone. Much love. Namaste.